see resemblance, I don't know. So I work out at Cowboys with a Mission in Meeteetse, Wyoming. So that's YWAM base, if you ever heard of Youth with a Mission. We're an organization under them. We just go by Cowboys with a Mission because that's our focus, is cowboys and rural and nomadic cultures and stuff. So like our local ministry is like helping the ranchers in Wyoming, and then we run 2 discipleship training schools a year, one in the spring and then one in the fall, which is a 5-month course of 3 months of lectures, so classes, and they learn to ride horse and learn all about God, and they just really dig deep into figuring out relationships in the Bible, and it's a really grand time. And then the last 2 months is outreach, which is going overseas. Our base has gone to Mongolia for the spring school for the past like 5 or so years, and our fall school has gone to Azerbaijan for several years, and this year they're switching. They're going to go to Azerbaijan for a month, and then Kyrgyzstan for their other month, which is exciting. It's going to be a new place for our base, which is fun. But I won't be going on that trip. We only do that staff one of the schools a year, help lead. So I was part of the spring school this year, which was really fun. And we went to Mongolia. So if you don't know where it is in the world, it's about squished between China and Russia. And Ulaanbaatar there, the one city, that's the capital. That's literally the heart of the nation. All the roads run through UB. All the trains go to UB. Half of the population of Mongolia is in UB. It's not a very populated country. Lots of wide open spaces and still fairly nomadic. So I'm just going to point out all the places we've been so you have kind of a reference. So we flew into UB because that's the only international airport in the entire country. And then we were there for a while, and I'll have a bunch of pictures that I'll kind of just walk you through where we went. And then we went down to Hakurin, which is somewhere down here. I don't know if it's actually going to pop up on the thing. But it's further south we visited a little church there for just a few days. We wish our time there could have been longer. And then at the end of our trip, we went further south to Dalinzagad, to the Gobi, which is here. It was a fairly big town. Down in the Gobi Desert is the whole southern part of like this whole thing. South is all part of the Gobi Desert, which is, you think desert, you think sand dunes, that's part of it, but it's also like mountains and just rugged hills, just basically sparse vegetation, but sometimes there's things growing. It's really pretty, that's for sure. And we also went north. We kind of split the country in half, so we went north and south. We went to Zunhara. Oh, there it is. Hi, that's Zunhara. We were there for several weeks. And from Zunhara, we took a trip up to the reindeer people who live like all the way up here somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where we were from there, because it was like 3 days in a Russian van. I know we went through Muran there, because that was one of our last days. And from Muran, after that, there was no more highway. It was just dirt track going north, which was fun, bouncing around in a Russian van for another day. So let me get out my slideshow. I feel so sophisticated. So I can remember how to. There we go. There. This was the first person to greet us in Mongolia. That's Boggy. Well, that's what we called her. That's it, like her nickname. We couldn't pronounce her full name. And she came and picked us up from the airport. And this was actually us saying goodbye. But that was our first Mongolian we met. She was our translator for the first couple weeks before our other translator was done with her school. She teaches English in UB. And then Nar, our main translator, would actually join us and live with us. This is in the church in UB, which is in the Garish district, which is kind of like the poorer section of UB, kind of the outskirts. There's a church there, it's called Transformation Church, which is actually, there's like over a dozen transformation churches in Mongolia in different parts. We went to one in Zunhara and one in the Gobi later on in our trip. And it's a really cool church. And we never actually got to worship while we were there because they had a church conference while we were there. But this is where us girls stayed. They had a little room. This was our kitchen, which was kind of just a closet, and then we had a propane thingy. It's going to be a lot of random pictures, because I take random pictures, but just to give you a little taste of what we saw, what part of it, so you can feel a part of it. And this was the main room where we ate and kind of hung out, and also did VBS. So one of our main things we did was Vacation Bible Schools at pretty much every location we went to. We did one in UB that was like a 5-day long one, which was fun, just like a couple hours in the morning. The kids would come and we'd play games, and they'd memorize a Bible verse, and we'd have a little story time through a translator, and it was fun. The kids in UB especially were very much, and that was Mario. He was washing his clothes.
He's one of the students.
Yes.
And he's from, tell him where
Belize.
He's from Belize.
So we had 5 students. I should have introduced ourselves. I didn't have a picture at the beginning. So there was 3 staff that went along. Myself and then Chris and Ariana were the main leaders. They were just newlyweds. They got married in January, and then a couple months later, they said they got 5 kids, because we had 5 students come for the spring BTS. Mario's from Belize, Joel's from Switzerland, Louisa was from Germany, and then Christiana was from Washington, and Cheyenne was from Wisconsin. So all very neat people. It was really a God put together team. They managed to all get along really well, which was great, made things go way easier than they sometimes do. This was kind of a memory verse game. They'd written sections in Mongolian of the memory verse that we had a curriculum we kind of used for our VBS, and they had to line them all out to make out the scripture. This was all the kids in UB that came to our VBS. Let me point out the people. That's Chris and Ariana. They were the other 2 leaders. That's Louisa, Christiana, Mario, Joel, Cheyenne,
You?
and me. Yeah, you don't recognize me. And these were all the kids. I think that was one of Bobby's little boys.
Is that a Bible or just books for the kids?
So Ariana's church back in New Hampshire the kids had raised money for us to give out Bibles in Mongolia. And they raised like $2,000-3,000. Wow, I'm very impressed that a bunch of kids raised that much money. So we took that money and we just used it just for Bibles. We bought like 370 Bibles total, I think. First we did in like 2 sections. We got like 100 adult Bibles and 100 kids Bibles the first time. And these were the kids Bibles, which were really nice Bibles. They were like kind of a story format and full of pictures. Very fun for the kids. And then the adult Bibles were really nice too. Is the first section we got. Which fun story with the Bible. So YWAM as a whole, this year Mongolia was like their focus nation. So their goal was to send teams into Mongolia and like distribute Bibles. That was the whole thing. Was Bless Mongolia was distributing Bibles to as many homes as they could. So and Ariana's church had no idea about that, but it's just amazing that God's heart really was for distributing Bibles. Here YWAM's doing it, and then Ariana's church raised all this money for it, and we were able to do it, so it was really cool. This is just overlooking UB. It's the factory. I think it's like a heating plant or something over there. It's just a little hike up. That's a Gear, the white building, which is just a traditional Mongolian home. We got to help set up a couple, which was really fun. They're just like a lattice. We have them here, we usually call them yurts, but they call them Gears there. It's like a lattice around the outside, then poles for the roof, and then you throw felt around to insulate, and then canvas over it all. Sometimes plastic to help, but they're really fun. We got to stay in a couple too. So this thing here is part of shamanism. So Mongolia, their main religions are shamanism, Buddhism, and atheism. And then Christianity is a small minority. And pretty much every high point around anywhere people live, you're gonna see these rock piles. Maybe with a stick, with lots of blue little ribbons, scarf things tied around or whatever. And they go, and basically shamanism is, of course, think like Native Americans, the shamans, that's basically kind of what it is, and just a worship of the spirits spirit of the mountain, spirit of the sky, just whatever. And sadly, it's kind of gaining in popularity, shamanism in Mongolia, which is sad because it's all just, it's lies. They're worshiping creation, not the creator, and they're being led astray by spirits who don't have their best in mind because they're not God's spirit. So a lot of times, like these rock piles, they'll go and just walk around throwing rocks onto it to say their prayers or ask for help or blessings or protection or whatever. So we went up, in every place we went up to a high point and we prayed over the area because we felt that was something important, because there is power in praying at a high point, because, and especially since that's shamanism, they like to pray at the highest points. So wherever we went, we would go pray at a highest point and worship and pray over the area, declare the names of God, just whatever God led us to do in the moment, we did. Which was fun. One time, a couple of us came up here, and we met a couple little boys while we went up there, and we didn't have a translator with them. We couldn't communicate with them really, but they just kind of like followed us around and hung out with us while we were sitting there praying. And so we had the Bibles, kids' Bibles, but we hadn't brought any with us. And we really felt we were supposed to go give them some, so two of us ran back and got Bibles and brought some up to them, which it was kind of sad. They took them. They were really excited. They plopped right down and kind of opened them up and started reading them a little bit. But then one of the boys, he went around this thing throwing little rocks and muttering something to it. We were really hoping he wouldn't throw the Bible on the rock pile, which he didn't, praise the Lord. He kept it, so hopefully he reads it and is able to understand it. But it's a hard thing when you can't communicate with the people, which was really nice then when Nara came with us, and our translator was able to live with us all the time, and we were able to do more. But for the first couple of weeks, we just had Boggy, and she was pretty busy. And she has 2 little kids and is pregnant with another one. So this was also at each high point we made a little cross of rocks, or one time it was wood because there was no rocks. Just because we figured, hey, if they can do it, we can do it. So we made a little cross out of rocks, the high points. And this was our one over UB. This is down in Cochrane, which was the first place we went to the south, went to that little church, which is also a transformation church. That one is kind of a church plant. It's still just in a ger, just a little ger they meet in, and very small. And Harperin is very, very Buddhist. There's this Buddhist temple, which is the wall. This is just a very small section of the wall that's around this very old Buddhist temple. And we walked around it praying, like the walls of Jericho. That was really fun. Went inside and prayed. We even left a Bible at one of the temples. That's just the gate, one of the gates. It's massive. Into this. And yeah, the church there in Harperin it's had a hard time getting going, but because the community didn't really want them there. They don't have nothing to do with Christianity, but they've been able to, they're getting a little more accepted, a little bit. And a few people come, and it's an older couple that are kind of leading the church, which I can have a picture of them eventually. That's one of the temples inside the main compound of the big temple place. And there they are. John and I were actually learned their names. That's their grandson. His name means Genesis, so we call him Genesis.
This is the church?
Yes,
okay.
Yeah, that ger behind him is the church. Then they had another little ger off to the side that was where they lived. And the guy had a stroke several years ago, so he still walks with a limp and can't talk very well, and can't use his right arm there. And yeah, they've been lots of health problems and just kind of been under attack. So if you want to pray for anybody, I'd pray for them. I don't even know their names, but yes, they're really dedicated because they've had lots of hard times, but they're still there. They're still preaching the word and trying to do their best to do what God tells them to do. And their grandson Genesis is there helping them out. And he was a neat little kid. So this is back in UB. We weren't in Harperin very long. This was the church in UB had a youth conference, or not a youth conference, just a church conference. Every year they do a conference. Well, they call it camping, but it's not like camping like you think of camping. It's more of a conference. So this year was just kind of like their local churches, all their different cell groups, and they went out and just kind of met, hung out, had services for like a weekend, and we kind of looked after the kids for them, part of it. This was the place we stayed at. It's pretty nice. This was like our little room for us girls. It's fun. It felt very Asian being there. It was fun.
Slept on the floor.
Yeah, this was them getting the projector to work. I love it. They put a chair on top of the pulpit and then climbed up. I thought that was highly entertaining.
Not
And like
exactly
the
OSHA.
balloons there, they had a party Saturday night and they had a black and white theme, so the guys were supposed to be in white, the girls were supposed to be in black. We weren't prepared for that, so we kind of showed up with as much black and white as we could. But it was really fun. They loved to dance, so they had dance, and Mongolians, they love to sing, so like each cell group had to show a talent of mostly singing. They would sing a song. And it was really fun. We taught them how to line dance. That was fun. And they got it. And like some of them, like the ones that really got it, they like showed off afterwards that they could do it on their own. It was entertaining. Played lots of volleyball, which I don't really like volleyball because I'm not good at it, but played it anyways. And a bunch of us did. It was pretty fun. And then it started to rain and we had to go because that was our last day. But it was fun. This is just a bunch of us sitting there. This is Ayuka. She is part of the church there in UB. They have, they call it a mission school, which is basically like just a little Bible school there at their church. And Ayuka was one of the teachers. And she is from the South Gobi, the Dalinzagat that we later went to. And for years she'd been wanting our team to come down to her church in the Gobi. And this year we were finally able to do it. And she was so thrilled. It was great. Which was really a God thing. We had a great time down there. One of the most on-fire churches we met was the one down in the Gobi. The church in UB, in past years, had a lot more for us to do. There was more going on, but this year they're getting ready to tear down their building and build up a smaller one because their one they have now is too big. They don't utilize all of it, and it's too much to heat through the winter and stuff, so they're kind of transitioning. They just got new pastors. Well, actually, like just got pastors. Before it was like a leader, and now they have like a couple came as the pastor. So they're kind of going through a transition phase. So there wasn't a lot for us to do, not much going on while we were there, which was kind of sad that not as much was going on, but it's kind of just the phase they were at. And then, that shouldn't be already. Oh, no, I did. Okay. Just want to make sure I hadn't missed something important.
Went back to.
Just a second. Never used this program. So after we were there like a week or two in UB, and then we took the train up to Zunhara. And a bunch of little kids came to our little compartment and played with us and hung out, and that was really fun. They were trying to teach us Mongolian, which was highly entertaining. And this little girl, she was really good at teaching. She would break it down into little sections, and like we played card games and stuff with her. Just fun. We were able to give a couple of them the kids' Bibles before we left, which was great because we hauled like 3 boxes of adult Bibles and then a whole duffel bag full of kids' Bibles, which was all very heavy to haul around, let me tell you. Up to Zunhara, because then from Zunhara we went up to do the reindeer people. We really wanted to bring that Bible, so we had to carry a lot around. That was just a cart. That's off the train. I thought it was cool. So that's how they transport livestock, just kind of in the backs of these trucks.
Yeah.
It's very fun. Sheep, camels.
Is that a full-size truck?
Yeah, they have lots of camels down in the Gobi or so. And the other horses. Which the horses are very small, think more like pony, but that's their horses, is just like that high. They're very fun, very fast. They love to race. They love to race their horses. They're very proud of them too. This was so we were just in Zunhara a couple days, and then we took off to go up to the reindeer people, and this was our Russian van, and there was our driver. His name was Wednesday. Well, that's what his name means. I don't actually know we couldn't pronounce his name very well. So we called him Wednesday, because that's what his name means. All Mongolian names pretty much have a meaning. So, and really cool, after we got back, We went on the trip Wednesday. Well, of course, was like with us all the time while we were with the band, and we were able to kind of share the gospel with him a little bit, and we gave him the Bible. And then after we left, a couple weeks, there were a group from a YWAM based in Montana came and went up to the reindeer people like we did, and they had the same driver Wednesday, and he accepted the Lord during their trip, and they told us about it. It was very exciting.
That's cool.
Because we definitely prayed for him a lot and got to know him really well. He's a great guy. And we even stayed on the way back, we stayed at his place in Moron, met his wife, and that's awesome. He's a nice guy. It's super exciting that he accepted the Lord. This was one of our first campsite. We tented, it was like, so 3 days going up there with the band. This was our first night. We stayed here at so that was our outhouses. They were a little ways away from where we camped. And this is a stallion. Usually they don't cut the manes or tails of the stallions, so it'll be really long sometimes. And we couldn't quite figure out. Sometimes they'll have the manes trimmed. We think that means like they're riding horses or whatever. There's a code that we never quite deciphered for that. And animals just kind of wander around everywhere. Cows, horses, sheep, lots of sheep and goats, lots of them. That's just Wednesday. And that was just another person camping. So like how you camp is you can just basically camp anywhere in Mongolia, just find a spot and pop a tent. It's fun. And yeah, the animals, so like fencing in Mongolia is more to keep the animals out, not keep anything in, because everything's just open range. Which was really fun to see cows wandering through town. It made my heart happy every time I saw cow tracks in the cement or in the dirt. It was very fun. Brushing, Louisa and Mars brushing the teeth. So this is Mars. That's what his name means. His name was Angar, but we call him Mars. We just couldn't quite say it the first few times. And he was an extra translator that came with us on the reindeer trip. A young guy who's just 19. He'd been in the U.S. for like a foreign exchange student for like a year, and spoke pretty good English, and not a Christian at all. So that was really fun. The guys, he stayed in the same tent with Mario and Joel going up there, so they were able to give him a Bible and really kind of share the gospel with him throughout. And again, the other team, he went again on the reindeer trip with the other team from Lakeside. And they said that he's going to do actually a DTS in Washington, I think next year or something, which is very exciting because we definitely were praying for him and stuff. And we actually, when we got back to Zunhara, he invited us to his home, which is very, very nice home. That was like, his parents were very wealthy. They had they sold construction supplies. And had a business in Zunhara there, and they lived like on the outskirts in their little summer home, which was beautiful, and we spent a lovely Sunday afternoon out at their home, and they were just so welcoming, inviting, and very supportive parents, which was really cool to see, because a lot of the time, we were kind of more with the poorer people, like the Gare district, kind of the outskirts, and just people who don't have much, so it was kind of fun to see the other side of life in Mongolia a little bit, because they need Jesus just as much as the poor people do. So, those are pigs. Those are not really pigs I saw, so I took a picture. And getting packed back up into the van, ready to go. All our luggage got shoved into the back of that, and then I never explained about Inkush and Tumaro are two Mongolians, and it's their ministry that we kind of hooked up with to go up with the reindeer people. They have, their ministry is called Tribal Bridges, which is, their vision is kind of to connect the Native American culture and the nomadic Mongolian culture, because there's lots of similarities, and to kind of share the gospel with both and share those similarities, because they do have a lot in common with the Native American Indians. And Inkush has come over to the States a lot. She did a DTS at a YWAM base in Washington, and our team has gone with them to the reindeer people for at least like 4 years, I think. I guess like the 5th time or something. And their heart is really to reach the reindeer people up there, because they're very, very unreached. There's one Christian. and the couple, like, tribes kind of up there. And that was from one of the years we went up there, one of the guys accepted Christ. So, like, yeah, very unreached. They don't really know this. One of the families we talked to, the lady, she thought Jesus was just for children. She'd heard of Jesus, but that was just for kids. She didn't understand that it's for everyone, for adults, for everyone. And, yeah, so it's hard for my American, raised in a Christian family, church brain to understand that people don't even know who Jesus is, that they've never heard of him. They don't understand who he is, and have never had the best relationship you can have, which is with God. And I mean, if you really think about it, it breaks your heart because they're going to hell without that relationship. And that's a terrifying, motivating thought, because they need to hear. And they're wonderful, amazing, funny, sarcastic, mean. They're people. And they need to know. They need to hear what we hear, I grew up hearing, or learned as a baby, just what I take for granted. They so desperately need. We had a wonderful supper there, and then it wasn't open in the morning because Mongolians don't get up early in the morning. Let me tell you, they are night people. They'll stay up till 1 in the morning, but they won't get up at 6 in the morning. No.
You got along with them real well then.
Yes, actually. It was great. I like to say it was good. But yeah, so we just kind of had breakfast on the go before we went, which was just yogurts with no spoons, which was fun.
Ooh, that's interesting. I like
They
that.
were in little cups, though, I was kind of stick them out. So this was the whole group that went up. So this is in Kush, in Tumoro, and then they brought their little baby. They have another like little 2-year-old, but she didn't come on the trip, but little Anna did. And yeah, she's adorable. The quietest, little, nicest baby you'll ever meet. She like hardly ever cries unless she wants something, which is great. Being traveling, a lot you do. And they brought their car along because we didn't all quite fit in the van, even when we squished. We got a little squishy at times. And that's Wednesday in Mars. And there's Nara. That's our first picture. Nara's been in. She was our translator. She's a YWAMer as well. She did a DTS in the U.S. Florida? I don't remember where it was at. But she loves to sing, loves the Lord. It was so much fun having her with us. She just felt like part of our team. When she came along, she's been our translator for several years when our team has gone there. It's just, we stopped along the way and did this beautiful picture with the mountains, which these mountains are kind of some of the highest mountains in the little area. This was getting near the reindeer people, and when we were staying in the village below where the reindeer people have their summer camp up in the mountains with their teepees, our horsemen said that they'd been having some dry years, and the shamans really felt it was because they hadn't been honoring the spirits. So that summer they were going to go worship on the mountains and give proper honor back to the spirits, which kind of breaks your heart again, because those aren't the right spirits. They're not worshiping creation again instead of the Creator, and they're just missing it. You know, they've been led astray by lies and by the enemy. But yeah, beautiful drive up there through the mountains. Everything. So that was lots of car troubles along the way. Our brake line broke in Moran on the van, and their car had some troubles. Let me tell you, Mongolians are good mechanics by necessity, because see the little dirt tracks, that's what we're following. There's holes and streams and rocks, and just drove over it all. That's what you do. That was us in the van. That's what we look like most of the time. That's a long trip, let me tell you. This one we got stuck. Second day in the van, that night we got stuck. But thankfully, so there was a big truck that had also gotten stuck, this little marshy spot, and they were quite stuck. They were huge. But they had chains, and our other car hadn't got stuck, so we were able to use their chains to pull our van out. Which then they asked us if we would use our 2 cars to try and pull their big truck out, which we said no. We felt bad for them, but we didn't think that would work because they were huge and they were very stuck. But we did see them later, so somehow they got unstuck. we also got stuck again the next day,
Wow. that
going
is stuck.
to where, just from, we stayed at our horseman, that's our main horseman, we stayed at his house in the village, Saganor, and we stayed at his house and then drove from his house kind of to the base of the mountains. They brought the horses up, we were just going to ride just kind of on the steeper section, so we drove the boggy section and got stuck, which we then levered it out with like poles. That was highly entertaining as well. Shoved boards underneath and finally was able to drive off. That's a hitch and rail in Mongolia. It's a post and then a rope strung across and then just tie them up. You can see horses standing in it. That was a lot. This is, you can't really see them, but the Saganor, the village, is kind of back there. This was at our horseman's house that we stayed at. So one night before we spent a day riding up to the reindeer people. My favorite day is riding up to the reindeer people. It was fun. This was just not Carl, this was his wife. Like Borchek or Butchek or something was our horseman's name. It was a tricky one, I never quite got it. They had cows and goats and sheep. This place, these were a couple kids. So Mongolians love to wrestle. Everybody, all the men wrestle. And this couple kids were just messing around while we were getting, our stuff was getting packed onto the horses. They're wrestling, because that's like the favorite sport of Mongolians is their wrestling. And it's kind of, basically the rules is whoever hits the ground first loses. So, quite entertaining to watch. This was all our bags and all the food and stuff packed up and just put a tarp around it, and then they were tied onto the horse over there. Very fascinating to watch them put it all together. And then just stay with that. Yeah, it's fun. And just on the trail, going riding up to the reindeer people. There were still some snow melts in a couple of the valleys. It snowed 2 of the days we were up there. It was quite cold while we were there. It was the first time it's actually been cold enough to snow while our team's been up there. But it was a little shivery, but we all survived. Traveling up, a whole string of us on our little Mongolian horses. And that's Anna, little baby Anna. Tumaro just carried her in this dell. That's the dell is like the traditional,
No. That's fine.
like this style, but usually like long, like a great kind of overcoat, and the dells they'll be like padded and stuff, so like it's like a coat. And then the men wear a really long sash that they like wrap around themselves. But so he just kind of took part of that and made a sling for little Anna, and he carried her all the way up. I was quite impressed. Pretty slick. More kind of, we went through woods and then kind of got further up. You went the rockier it got and more sparse till that's kind of what it looks. Where the reindeer people live, that's kind of what it looked like. That was our last ridge to go over. There's the teepees of the family we stayed with. So part of how the reindeer people make their money is like tourists will come up a lot, and so families will have an extra teepee for them to rent out, and they have little crafts and stuff they've made out of reindeer antlers they'll sell, and that's kind of how they get in some extra revenues, just tourists, because you make lots of money off tourists, let me tell you. And so yeah, that was actually the teepees we stayed in. The guys had one and us girls had the other. And then Ikush and Tumaro stayed actually with the family. And that's the family's teepee. And then they popped up another extra tent. And that was their phone. They built a little tent for their phone. They were the only ones that had a phone up there.
A phone?
So people would come visit. And yeah, so people could call their families that are, because they're only up there in the mountains during the summer. So they winter down in the village Saganor. At least most of them. I think there's a couple of crazy guys that stay up there all winter with the reindeer. I think most of the reindeer herds stay up there year-round, and they bring some, maybe. I don't know. They're up there during the summer. That's what we were there. That's what we know mostly. These were the reindeer. You get kind of staked out at night or in a corral, little stakes into the ground they get tied to. And then they give them out in the evening, and then in the morning, and then let go. This was a little baby. They were adorable. There was one born over there, I think. And that's in the morning after milking, going out, letting them go where the family was. and just kind of, then they roam around. They come back at the proper time while they go get them. There was a couple herds of horses up there, and like one herd of cows, and that was pretty much it. There weren't sheep or goats up there like there is in the rest of Mongolia. So, the horses and foals. One of the few Appaloosas we saw. All the horses will come in any kind of color you have, pretty much. And that was after it snowed. That's the river we would get our water from. Just below where we were. And we'd cross it going over to other people's homes. This was inside the girls' teepee. That's what we cooked on the little wood stove there with that pot. And this was the kitchen. That's all our food in the wood. And just there were a couple little bed things, and a couple of girls had mats and stuff on the ground. That was Christiana. And this was our bucket to go get water from the river, and our little broom. Made out of little bushes. It's quite fun. I felt like something you see in the museum from the Native Americans, but we used it to sweep out our little carpet area in our teepee. It was fun. Yeah, felt like you were living a bit of history, kind of, and it was fun to kind of live the way that people live. Well, you're there and you feel like you really kind of get to know them a little more, and I quite enjoy being out in the middle of nowhere and making your fire and your food. It was quite fun. Our pot in the kitchen. Chainsaw. It's a sound you'd hear a lot. I do have the chainsaws chopping our wood. And we did a VBS, the students do VBS while we were there we were just up there for like 4 days. So it took like 5 days of travel, well no, actually 5, 6, 7 days of travel to be up there for 4 days, but worth it. And so we had the kids, actually while we were there was a Peace Corps group there teaching English, which in the past our team has taught English, but we're not really equipped to teach English. We're not very good at it. We don't like doing it. So this year we were doing VBSs. And that worked really well because Peace Corps was already teaching English, and we did our VBS just like an hour before them, and then the kids would go over to them. So we were outside playing games. And part of that. And we gave all the kids that came to our VBSs, we would give them a Bible. And the first day we had a ton of kids. After that, our time got moved earlier, and it was colder, so not many kids came. Which we were glad we gave the Bibles out the first day. Because we had all those kids, we could see them. They were quite happy to get their Bibles. Which was fun. Later when we visited the families, we saw a couple of the kids' Bibles lying around in their teepee, and that was cool. I think ministering to the kids is a great way to get into the family, because the kids will bring home and talk about it, and the parents will ask questions, and then in the afternoons, we did VBS in the mornings. In the afternoons, we rode around and visited the different families that kind of scattered around in a little valley there. And we went and visited them and just drank their milk tea. Oh, lots of cups of milk tea. Because Mongolian hospitality is they offer you food and drink. You come in, doesn't matter what time of day, whenever you come in, they offer you food and drink. So milk tea, just milk and water, tea mixed together, very salty. Either you like it or you hate it, one of the two usually. But with the reindeer milk, it was actually really good. Reindeer milk's very creamy and delicious. And so then they'd offer you sweets or bread or cheese to make those. That was interesting. Yeah, and I was quite amazed by the Mongolian hospitality that they always had they had like thermoses that big for their milk tea that they'd keep it hot in all the time. Pretty much ready for anybody to come visit, and then we chat, and then we'd share the Bible with them, or the gospel if they seemed open, and we'd bring Bibles if they were open, we'd give it to them, and we'd try to leave the markers at the New Testament and the Psalms, because one of the guys that we had visited, he had gotten a Bible in previous years, and he'd read it, and I think it was actually the shaman. I think he was. And he read it, but when you start in the Old Testament, you get a little, it's kind of confusing, right? Especially if you don't have a basis of understanding. So he read the Old Testament, so he thought it was all Christianity was all just the rules, and you can't eat meat, you can't kill your goats, which that's their way of life, like basically saying no to all that. So we were trying to explain that's not the heart of the gospel. We're free from the law. It's Jesus that paid for our sins, and we can eat whatever we want because we don't have to follow the laws because Christ has set us free. So that was fun trying to explain that to him, which it was kind of fun. Joel was with the group, and he didn't know where we knew there was a shaman up there, but Joel, he didn't know what he looked like, who he was, but while he was out visiting, he was like, wow, he's just so on fire. He's like, I'm ready, I want to go visit the shaman, I want to try and share the gospel with him. But he's like, I don't even know where he lives. So they just continued wherever our horsemen led us, that's where we went. And they went, right after he prayed that, they went into a tent, and that was the guy that was kind of confused with the Old Testament and stuff. And so he shared the gospel with him. And then when they came back, and we all kind of debriefed our days because we split into 2 groups to go visiting. And he had pictures of who they visited that day, and they showed it to like Chris and Ariana, and they're like, oh, that's the shaman. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that was the shaman. And it's like kind of glad he didn't know, because then he would have went in with a different thought, because he's just a regular guy. He had a little baby. It was really cute. We saw him at our Nottingham festival we did. And he just shared the gospel unafraid, because that's just what you do. And that was a group coming back from visiting. Oh, that's our other 2 horsemen that came with us. We had 3. The main guy, Portuga, something. And I never did learn our young horseman's name. And then this was Puja, so they come with us, and they come in, because like a lot of them are related to half of everybody up there, because they live down in Sagamore, so they have lots of relatives everywhere up there, and they're friends, because they come up here. That's what they do. They bring tourists up and down to the reindeer people, and they know lots of people, so they would take us to the different families and sit in there with us. So they heard the gospel many times. So, and Pucha, we gave him a Bible because he was very interested. He said, I will read that when I'm out tending my flocks. That's good, I'm gonna read that. And he was a really funny guy. Super funny.
It's a
And those
reindeer.
group went visit the family, that's the main horseman, and then that was the family they visited. I recognize him, he was at our BBS. That's tomorrow. That's with summon horses. So this is the kind of little pack saddles that we would ride, and that's just how they always have reins and then like a long line, and they hobble them that way. Or they would tie them up with the kind of the lead line and just leave the reins hooked over the saddle. And that's the traditional Mongolian saddle like that our horsemen like to ride, which are acutely uncomfortable, so I'm glad to get the little padded ones. But they're just kind of just wood things. And sometimes they have these like little metal things on the side, which I don't know why you would want that underneath you, but they do. And this is a little baby reindeer and little baby Anna, and they're so cute. I just had to add that picture because they're cute. So the reindeer that were like too young to follow their mamas all day would stay tied up till they were big enough to go. So the last day we were there, we put on a Nottingham festival for them, which Nottingham is their big spring festival, which is like one of their favorite holidays. Especially in the countryside, it's kind of just a time to get together. The 3 main sports you do is wrestling, archery, and horse racing. So while we were up there, we every year time we've gone up there, we've done a little Nottingham festival, and everybody came together. We did reindeer racing with all the kids. That was fun. And tug of war, also very fun. And then we had wrestling. And this was us just kind of waiting around, messing around. We had brought a couple ropes with us, and the guys were playing, cowboy jousting, where you like run at each other and try and rope and trip each other up while you're running by. That's fun to watch.
Typical
This
day.
was our full group that went up there. Our 3 horsemen. And we set up a little pole because you have to wrestle around a pole, apparently. Or not, that's what you do. This was everybody pretty much that came to the Nottingham. There was quite a few people. Just sat around for the wrestling section. Brought food, milk tea. Tomorrow had a little table. We kind of organized it all, and they'll plate of candy, because you always have to have something to offer when people come to visit, and the prizes that he gave to the winners of the different events. And he had this little mic, which there was a stereo behind him, this little golden mic. He was carrying around even when he didn't use it. It was kind of fun. This was the wrestling. Basically, you just shove at each other till you fall down. I don't know how to do it. They all know how to do it. And these were the two judges. They would hold the caps to the guys, and then whoever wins, they would, raise the cap. So it's fun one. It's highly entertaining, but the loser, whoever loses the wrestle, he has to get spanked by the winner. That's fun. This was Joel, so our Chris and Joel got invited to wrestle in our little autumn. Joel actually won a couple times. Chris kind of basically forfeited to this little short guy. That was fun. Chris is like 6'1". This guy was like 5'3", 5'2". She was a really good wrestler, actually. These were the winners of the wrestling. That guy. And I think no, he got like second, first, and the judges. Tug of war. That was fun. That was a sport that the girls could participate in too, because women don't wrestle, just the men, just the men. And of course, first time our whole American team had to face off against the Mongolians. We lost. That was fun. But they were super friendly and super fun, and it was really fun to see the people we visited and just kind of hang out on our last day up there and have fun together. Because that's cute. Little kid on reindeer, he was cute. And these were the winners of this guy won the kids' reindeer race. These were the others. There was a little baby. And Mario, our other guy, he got invited to ride a reindeer in the adult race, which was the first time anyone on our team's ever been invited to ride a reindeer, so that was pretty cool. He came in like dead last, but he had fun. He said it was very hard to ride a reindeer, very narrow, and he never used his thighs that much riding a horse, so it was fun.
But what a thrill. I mean, how many of us can say, oh, I rode a reindeer?
Get a race.
Get a race.
These were the winners of the adult race. This was, we each had a Matiti flea market hat on that we had to take a picture of. That we had a little piece of a little tiny town in Wyoming with us up with the reindeer people in Mongolia. And this was a cool reindeer that was hanging out there, all packed up, ready to go home. And then we went back down, which this girl, her name was Mama. That was her name. That I don't know what it means. She came down with us because she was the daughter of the people we stayed with while we were up in the mountains. And so she came back to Sunhara with us actually because she wanted to come to the city for a while. So we had extra people coming back with us, and then we randomly gave a ride to another lady as far as Muran. So we were all very squished in the van coming back for a while. But that's kind of what you do is everybody's a taxi in Mongolia. If you want to do taxis, hold your hand out, and then you wait till somebody stops, which can be whoever, and you give money to go however far you want. As many other horses come there. Come back down. Oh, it's just, see this little pack horse? He was the really good one that our main horseman just tossed the thing over and let him follow us down the whole way. Usually if you followed him, you find a good path. That's Puja. He was leading the way with on our way to 3 pack horses for like 11 of us. No. Yeah, like 11 of us. All our stuff on 3 horses. They're pretty packed. So back in Sunhara, when we got back, it was time for the Sunhara Nadam. So like in UB, the Nadam is always at the same time, but in all towns everywhere else, they'll kind of have their Nadams whenever, their festivals. And this was the tractor kind of park section, which I just had to take a picture because I mean that's just like a fair here, just a bunch of tractors parked to show off. And this couple was from the Netherlands. They came and stayed at Tribal Bridges, where we were staying, and they're YWAMers, and they were looking to kind of leave their base and go somewhere new. So they were kind of going around Mongolia and seeing if that's where God wanted them to move as full-time missionaries. So they were a really neat couple. They hung out with us, super fun, and we even had like a worship and intercession time with them. That was really fun. Yeah, kind of helped their BB VBS, taught a couple English. So the nonce was one of the main singers. She was just, I didn't know who she was. She was just the person standing on a horse next to us where we were sitting in this fancy get-up, so I took a sneak picture of her. But later she went out on the horse onto the fields, and she was one of the singers, so she made her grand entrance. They had a whole kind of ceremony of, first they had military come out and parade the different corps, and then they had a really long parade of like everybody in the town, I swear. And then they had dancing, and archery was taking place, and there was tons of tents set up with like carnival rides and selling food. It was really fun. I really enjoyed watching it. And then the kids came out. There was a bunch of them dressed as different animals. So there's like sheep, goat, camels. They were really cute, and they came out and did little dances. That's the archery.
Cool.
That was fun to watch. So this is
Americano.
where Christian Tomorrow live. The Ministry Tribal Bridge. They have a coffee shop, the Americano, and I'll picture the inside, and that's kind of they're set it up to make money, and just has an outreach into the community. People come, so coffee is kind of a new thing, especially in UB. There's lots of coffee shops, and UB is kind of more modern, but like in Zunhara, I'm pretty sure they're doing the coffee shop. So it's not super busy yet, but people are kind of catching on to it, and like Tumor especially is pretty respected in the community, and people will come and ask them to help or whatever. So, yeah, they have that coffee shop, it's the inside. Americano, espresso, cappuccino, smoothies. They had good smoothies. I don't like coffee, so I had smoothies. And it was basically like stuck into a little part of America in the middle of Mongolia, which was weird, but fun. We did a VBS, a 5-day long VBS while we were in Zunhara. So we were there for another week after we got back from the reindeer trip. And we would do VBS in the mornings, then work projects in the afternoon, which was a lot of laying cement. We laid cement for a whole like half-court basketball and a gear thing. You'll see that. Inside, we had the VBS, playing the game. It was doing the story time, sharing a lot of stories, the gospel messages, and then we did crafts. See, that was the little like paper mache, you know, you can have little things. Fun. How am I doing? Oh.
What?
Do I need to wrap up quickly? Sorry. I didn't know I could talk that long. That was all the kids that came to the VBS there. And that's the gear we helped set up. We laid all the cement for that pad there. That was the backside of the coffee shop. We stayed in the upper section. It's all rooms. It's where English Tumor had our apartment. We had rooms. That's the basketball court we laid. That took a while. Zunhara, an overview. A little Buddhist temple. I thought you would love this. They had rocks on the side of it. There was a big hill
Just
out
like
on the outside of Zunhara, and they had just things written there that I have no idea what they mean. That's the symbol on their flag, which has lots of meaning. And this was the pastor down in the Gobi, Ekpa, and that's Nara. And yeah, they were church where they fire. That's his house he's building. And in Dylan's this was the church and the building there. They just started up a bakery out of it. And that was like the nursery where us girls stayed. And we visited. They had a big dinosaur kind of amusement park and gathering spot there in Dylan's. And we hung out there a couple nights just trying to see if we prayed for people a couple times. And we mostly just hung out and had fun. We did a VBS there as well. Gave out fireballs. While we were there in the afternoons, we would go out in the street and invite teenagers to come for a little service, and we'd have like a little 40-minute long service, and just play a couple games, kind of break the ice, and then share the gospel with them. And that was really cool, because like I've never done street evangelism before, and the students had either, so they were able to step out of their comfort zones, and like Christiana did one of the messages, because she felt God told her to. She really didn't want to, but she did it anyway, so I was very proud of her. And yeah, playing games. They took us to this little ice in the desert thing, this kind of snowpack in the mountains. There was a waterfall from a higher ice melt. And we went camping with them, which was really fun. And they came with us. We wanted to go on a high point. So we went up on the mountain and they joined us in praying over the area and worshiping, and that was really cool. And then we built, this was worshiping, and then we built our stone cross. Each of us took a rock and laid it out, which was really fun. It was kind of people all over the world. It's the same God. We worship the same. Where their worship was some of the same songs as ours, just Mongolian, some their own original songs, but they have a heart for worship, and just felt like some of the worship services it had here, but over in Mongolia. So that's kind of one of the last main things we did. I'll cut it off here because we have to go, and I didn't realize the time, but I guess we got a little taste of Mongolia and an interest in people you maybe never heard of before. I didn't know anything about Mongolia before I went, but they're wonderful people. They're very enriched. They need the gospel. They need prayer, lots of prayer, because there's lots of spiritual warfare going on over that country. Yeah. So I'm just gonna pray, and we gotta scurry to mine on. So, Lord, I just thank you for this time to share and just show off, kind of tell stories of things you've done, and just the fun people you have from the country. They're your people. You've made all of us equally, just the same. You love all of us equally. You've died for each and every one of us, and you have a heart for all of us, and I pray you would show us glimpses into that heart so that we would have a heart to pray for our neighbor and our neighbor on the other side of the world. And I just ask for your blessing and safety over the day, and even more than safety, that we would have a passion for you and would be willing to step out of comfort zones to maybe not go on a mission trip, but maybe go on a mission to go and share the gospel with our neighbor, with our friends, with our co-workers. And we praise you, give you thanks that you are God, you are good, that even across the world, it's the same Bible, the same gospel, the same God we serve. Thank you, Lord, and amen.
Amen.